just going to dive in. I doubt whether there's anybody here, but if you're here, thank you for hanging out. I just wanted to get this out and put it on record. I'll make notes as we go along here. Let me just check in. Where am I? This is a live stream. Hold on. Let me just get over here. Okay, here we go. All right, this is a live stream. It is Friday afternoon over here in Las Vegas, and we are approaching the end of 2023 on the calendar. And some of you know that I've been making notes for 2024, and it's going to be a year of fireworks, to put it politely. So we'll see how that works out in detail, but it's already happening. Everything is like a tinderbox right now, and just one little spark here and there, like an arsonist going crazy on their favorite activity. This is what it's going to look like. Okay, so you might want to brace yourselves, depending on where you live in the world, of course. So what I'm going to do actually is just show some calendar moments and just run through a list of things, and then maybe make a few comments and offer a few opinions. And the idea is to basically wake people up a little bit, help them wake up. I don't really see that as my job or a mission or anything. I'm just trying to mind my own business. But right now it feels like alarm bells. Alarm bells are going off, and you need to wake up. You need to wake up. There's some very, very serious stuff happening, and we are at the point of no return. We are at this pivotal point in history. This is, in terms of astrology, this is monumental. It's the biggest deal that I've been dealing with, or probably will deal with, in the last 7 years and for the next 20 years. It's happening right now. It's the moment of shift. It's the actual transition. It's like in a chemistry equation experiment. It's called a titration. It's where you have a chemical reaction that is, simmering away over here in a tube or a canister or something or other, and it's being, let's say, developed or activated one tiny increment at a time, in order that the experiment can be studied very closely and very effectively. And there comes a tipping point, which is what happens in titration. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these chemicals, but everything will appear to be absolutely just benign and just puttering along. And chemically speaking, we know there's some profound changes happening, but you can't quite see it yet. And the moment where you start to see it, that's the moment of titration, where the addition of one chemical to another chemical reaches a point of critical mass, or a tipping point, where everything changes from this to this. And we are at that point right now. Hello, Love Triber. Thank you for dropping by. I'm just having a little rant, getting some calendar moments out there for people. Anyway, how am I going to do this? You know what? Let's just start with the old book. Here we go. I have not made an astrodoodle for today. Actually, let me make a little tiny sketch of an astrodoodle, because that might help things. I've got a lot of stuff here lined up. I'm going to make a little sketch for the astrodoodle. Okay, there we go. Typical TarotLumination astrodoodle. Aries, Taurus. Let's just do it. I'll just do it very quickly. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius, the water bearer, and dear Pisces. Okay? So this is the point that interests me. This is the point of history in the making. This is everything that's happening in the world right now is at this point of critical mass, where we end the era of Pluto and Capricorn for the last, whatever it was, 18 years or so. We're basically at the tipping point itself. We're very, very, very close. And you've probably noticed in world activities, world news, whatever your perspective might be, that there is a lot of stuff bubbling and simmering and fermenting and fomenting to the point where everybody around the world is becoming aware that there's some sort of very big deal happening. And one of the most common words that I've been seeing is chaos. Revolution, chaos, upheaval, disruption. And there's also potentially quite a lot of violence. Because what this indicates here is the end of an old era. The end of an attempt over the last 18 to 20 years to impose a basically globalized one world government, a massive communist dictatorship for the whole of planet Earth, owned and operated by unelected bureaucrats who think they're better than us. And they are so close to getting done what they want to do that it's impossible not to see them. Okay, just imagine you're a dead cow on a dead farm being taken to the slaughter, and at the very last second you realize that there's somebody coming at you with a cattle prod and a metal brace to load you onto the truck to go to the slaughterhouse. And that's at that last moment, at least you still have a chance. But remember, a lot of people are going to end up in the slaughterhouse. So it's kind of scary, but we're at that moment right now. And so this represents, in the most dark and tragic expression, is the absolute unchecked lust for power, money, and control, instead of a really healthy, efficient, high level of ethics, responsibility, capability, management of resources and nature for the betterment of the world. No, I'm sorry, we're seeing the very opposite. In contrast, we're entering into a new era where it's all about the revolutionary energy of we the people saying enough is enough to these barbaric, totalitarian monsters. These are the sociopaths, the psychopaths who are now effectively running the world, and they are expecting to achieve their goal. They really, really are. And in many ways, they are achieving their goal. And it's very frightening to see that. And a lot of people are going to suffer because they're going to continue to press for their success at the expense of we the people. So we're at this tipping point right now. This is the biggest deal probably in my life astrologically. Of course, here, other Pluto chapters as well. But nothing compares to this one here. Okay? So let's put a date on it. Okay, we're right here, right now. Okay, we're right at the tippy edge of the end of 2023. We're at the 29th, okay? And we're heading for this point of critical mass right here. We just had the full moon, sun in Capricorn, moon in Cancer. And that was a very, very important one for the USA because it's the full spotlights on how bad everything is. And also the Capricorn-Cancer axis is very, very important for the United States because it's, by birth, this axis is very, very prominent for the United States, okay? But the United States has a Sagittarius rising, so I'll put it sort of like this, okay? So as you can see, this is very much to do with money and commerce. The Pluto in Capricorn, America birth number here, opposes Mercury in Cancer over here. This energy represents Mercury in Cancer, the ability for we the people, the common people, to exchange energy, time, resources, and through commercial trade, commerce, freedom of speech, freedom of exchange, fully opposed by the intense desire for power, money, and control from an extreme elite monopolistic cartel. And this is built into the United States DNA. this part of America will always be at war with we the people. And the founding father figures of this country knew this and understood that. And it was created as a timestamp, 4th of July, 1776. So this is not going to go away. Now, just because they wrote the Constitution a few years later doesn't mean that this opposition was dissolved. This opposition is permanent. It's built into the United States. And in order for we the people to prevail, we have to make sure that the elites, the globalites, are kept in place. But that's very, very hard to do because they specialize in consolidating power for themselves at the expense of we the people. And so the primary aspect of what's happening in the next 20 years is going to be, let's see, when the founding fathers started, all the energy was vested in here, okay, for we the people. And eventually, over 250 years, the energy was dissipated and gobbled up and absorbed by the monopolists, the Federal Reserve, the corporations, and so on over here. So all the power and money and control lies over here. And we, the people, are going to reset everything back to here. They don't want that to happen. Oh, excuse me. There's probably a spam call. Hold on. I've got to switch it off. The amount of spam at this time of year is ridiculous. So this is the fundamental war that is going to be waged across the world, because what's happening in the United States is going to affect the rest of the world. 1776, we started here, and we declared that all the power, money, and control would be vested in the states and we the people. The corporate elites did not like that, and in other words, the battle started as soon as the Constitution was written, as soon as the Declaration of Independence was declared. The war had already begun. 250 years later, tick, 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 the global elites are basically in control. And it's very, very late in the day of realization where we're going to have to reset everything back to here. And that's where we are right now. And that's essentially war. It's going to turn into war. There's no other way to resolve it. The Revolutionary War. So I'm in my mind, I am allowing and anticipating 20 years of revolution across the world, because this dynamic for the USA, okay, there's the USA axis over here. This dynamic for the USA now applies to the whole world. The whole world was not connected the way it is today. Today, this aspect resonates across the whole world. And the United States and the United States Constitution is the only remaining barrier to complete globalized communism. That's why there is so much pressure inside the United States from the elites to destroy the United States from within. It is a planned demolition, and so far it's going very, very well for the elites. Okay? So that's very scary for me. It's very dangerous for we the people. They have all the power, money, and the control, but there's only a small number of them, and they're all criminals, psychopaths, sociopaths. But there's at least probably 100 million U.S. patriots who are going to do everything they can to reset everything back to the good. It's like when a computer gets so infected, the only thing you can do is to completely shut it down and reboot. So anyway, let's have a look. Full moon, we just had that, and now we're coming out of the full moon, and we're seeing in the spotlight, the full glare of the spotlight, how bad it is. The most obvious bad thing, I'll just put it here because I've talked about it a lot before, is this Mars energy crushing Neptune and Pisces, okay? So we got this going on, and it's a fierce battle, okay? The truth shall set us free. And over here, this is the hidden enemy, okay? And we all know who they are by now. The hidden enemy are the elites. They have names, and they are squirming around because they're desperate. And they're using all their consolidated power to conceal themselves and protect themselves against truth. Remember, they live through evil. They've made contracts with evil, with the devil, to get to be who they are, where they are right now. In other words, they have sequestered their soul because they want power, money, and control in this lifetime. Power, money, and control are far more addictive than any fentanyl. So we just had the Cancer Capricorn aspect. So that was very lit up. We're heading into this. Mercury's going to go direct in a few days. Jupiter's going direct in a couple of days. Okay? There's going to be a lot of forward motion, a lot of let's say, pent-up energy that's going to start to be released on the global stage. In terms of communications, it's going to get very, very volatile. And it's going to show up in the global financial markets. The next thing we have is that Mars is moving into Capricorn. The way I see it, Mars likes to be there because it's very powerful for executive decisions, executive action, okay? That's up here, over here, okay? Mercury's going to turn direct. Mercury's already in Sagittarius, but it's going to head back into Capricorn. So there's going to be a big pileup of energy in Capricorn over here, all right? Later in the month, well, actually, let me go to my, wait, where did I put it all? Okay, let's start with this. I'm just reading from my notes. Anyway, I put it on here, alarm bells, alarm bells. That was going to be the title of this video, but I don't do a lot of fancy thumbnails and pre-planning for these videos. I just load up and go. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm trying to sound some alarm bells. People need to be very, very aware of what's happening because the alarm bells are sounding very, very, very loudly. And I hope you hear them, okay? I hope for your sake that you hear them. What I'm discovering here in my world where I live is that through friends of friends, there are a lot of people, the vast majority of people seem to be unaware of what's going on. They can see on the mainstream media, oh my God, we've got this immigration invasion of the United States. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh, we've got political chaos going on. Oh my God, gasoline has gone up a lot. Food has gone up a lot in prices. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Oh, I don't know. What are we going to do? I don't know. People who are stuck, they can't sell houses, they can't buy houses. The market is sort of stagnant right now. Interest rates are high. The Fed can't raise them, they can't lower them. Whatever they do, they're screwed. We've reached the end of an era. It's a 250-year era, and we've reached the end. So everything is essentially going to do what Pluto does. Pluto is going to completely destroy anything and obliterate anything that is basically out of alignment with truth and reality. And what's left in the ashes will be the raw ingredients of a new reality. Of course, the bad guys don't want that to happen. They want to maintain their castle. So the orb of influence that we're talking about here, you know, the orb of influence for the moon as it transits, like the moon is over here right now, it's a few hours either way on each side per degree. Over here with Pluto, the orb of influence is years each side of a degree, okay? So everything I'm talking about right now has been building up for years. I even predicted it in here years ago. Global restructuring, January 2020. It's essentially tectonic plates crashing and crushing all around the world in the socio-political sphere in order to rebuild. So the actual orb of influence is over a few years, like 3 years here and 3 years here. And eventually Uranus will be in Gemini, and that's when things are really going to take off. But we're not there yet, so let's give ourselves a bit of time and space, all right? But the actual moment of titration, if you were here at the very beginning of my rant, the exact moment of titration, the tipping point, the exact tipping point is January 21st and January 22nd. Okay, it's right here. It's right here. This is the tipping point. It's at this exact moment in time, give or take 24 hours each side, where Pluto is going to reach the 0-degree Aquarius mark here. This is huge deal astrologically and for the whole of human people, for the whole of humankind. This is the pivot point. And not only that, okay, let me go through the things here. I've talked about the orb of influence, the actual moment. On top of this pivotal moment in terms of astrology, we also have simultaneously the sun entering Aquarius, okay, over here. So that's going to be a big pileup of Aquarius energy. And where's the new moon? Okay, so before we get there, okay, I talked about Mars in Capricorn. I talked about Jupiter, Mercury going direct in Sagittarius. Jupiter's going direct in Taurus. So that's going to really accelerate all the financial things. Whatever's bad will get worse. Whatever's good will get better. So just brace yourselves, okay? The thing I wanted to mention, okay, I talked about Jupiter going direct there, okay, Mercury going direct there. The new moon in Capricorn is January 11th, okay, that's right here. Okay, that's the sun in Capricorn and the moon in Capricorn. That's right here. Okay, so that's a very critical point for America specifically, because it's not very close, but it's right about here. And it's going to really light up anything and everything that's wrong with the corporate and global and American government and all the things that they're doing wrong, and how we're going to have new starts and new beginnings. Look, what are we going to do? Because it's so bad. What's happening in Washington, D.C. with the United States Federal Reserve Bank, the United States Treasury, and the United States administration running by Grandpa Joe, Anthony Blinken, and what's his name? Alejandro Mayorkas and Merrick Garland. All of those people are basically hardcore globalist communist criminals doing everything they can to destroy America as much as possible, as fast as possible, to try and escape the wrath of we the people who want everything to be brought back to a reset, to reconstitute the Constitution. So we're going to see it very, very lit up here. So it's going to be an absolute roller coaster, okay? So there's the Capricorn new moon. That's very strong, okay? And shortly after, we've got Mercury goes into Capricorn, okay? It's going to emphasize commerce and banking and trading, commercial trade, free speech, Second Amendment, First Amendment, all of that stuff. And then, so just please brace yourselves, because we got the sun in Aquarius. It's going to be conjoining Pluto in Aquarius around the 20th and 21st, okay? Wow. To me, this is a huge deal. Astrologically, this is a very, very big deal. Sun in Aquarius plus Pluto in Aquarius, okay? And look at that. Shortly afterwards, where did I put the date? Sun in Aquarius. I'm going into January here. Leo. Okay, it's the 26th. Is that right? Hold on, let me get the other calendar. I've got my new... Look at this, folks. I think I showed this to you already. I'm going to just flip this page here for a moment. Uh-oh, is that right? Is that right? No, that's February. Give me a second, folks. I'm going to flip the page back here. There we go. Let's do that. Okay, so here's the new moon, okay? That's the sun and the moon in Capricorn. I just talked about that. 2 weeks later, we have the full moon. The sun will be in Aquarius. That's on the 25th of January. And the moon will be, sun will be in Aquarius. Yes, sun will be in Aquarius, but then the moon will be in Leo. Okay? So that's going to be a very, let's say, volatile moment. These dates, basically the whole of January is, oh God, I don't know. We're just going to have to witness it to see what happens. It's going to be sitting on top of the United States natal moon, and it's going to conjoin the Communist Chinese Party ascendant simultaneously. In other words, Sun and Pluto, and then opposition Leo. Oh, I don't know. I'm just marking my calendar, okay? And then I'm going to observe. I'm going to be a witness, and I'm share what I observe in my opinions, okay? Let's move on. So I haven't put a lot of color here, because if I did, the whole page would just be one pink, red alarm bell splurge, okay? So I'm going to just leave these little circles as they are, and we'll deal with it as we go through January, okay? I'm just trying to give you a heads up alarm bell, give you some advance notice that 2024 is going to start with a bang. Let's put it that way. I just found out today, a couple of hours ago, Taylor Swift, with her big movie, the Era movie, about her global, tour, has been endorsed by the CCP. China loves Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift loves China, okay? She hates, basically, I don't quite understand it, because she's an incredibly privileged white American girl, and she basically hates white America. She hates Trump. She thinks he's literally a demonic incarnation to destroy the world. I thought that was very, very funny. Coming from so much privilege. I mean, she's virtually a billionaire now. You know, she's completely on board with the World Economic Forum, United Nations, all their agendas, Agenda 2030, COP28, all of that stuff. Everything has to go electric, get rid of oil and gas, and all the crazy goofball stuff. So I think it's very, very weird. But again, power, money, and control. I think Taylor understands that she's very powerful, she's very rich, and she has a lot of control. What's she going to do with that? It's a tremendously valuable, powerful gift, but what is she going to do with that? Anyway, China's sucking it up. Everyone has seen this. Everyone is fully aware now of the invasion of the United States, okay? I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever you are. This is a planned demolition by the global elites so that they can eventually achieve their communist globalized dictatorship, okay? It's all part of the plan. Basically, destroy anything and everything you can that resembles things like love, harmony, responsibility, common sense, and replace it with dictatorship and repression, basically tyrannical imprisonment of the soul. The next thing I've noticed is that the Russia-Ukraine NATO war with USA has expanded dramatically in the last 24 hours. Russia is now... Okay, there's Russia, okay. Everything was pretty much stable up until a few days ago, but now Russia is pounding the whole of Ukraine. Just completely pounding it, just the same way that Israel is pounding the whole of the Gaza Strip. It's just like, you know what, screw this. We might as well just pound the whole country, It's like old-fashioned carpet bombing. Remember in 1945 on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, when the first nuclear bombs were dropped over here, hundreds of thousands of people were killed, okay, just in one pop, okay? Now, because of all the, let's say, the white guilt and the global guilt that's promoted around the world, it's difficult to do that now. The obvious solution to some of the problems, if depending on what side of the war you're on, is to just carpet bomb these crazy terrorists and carpet bomb Ukraine. You know, why don't they just do that? Who cares about all the people who die? Because, 80 years ago, nobody cared about that in a war. Tens of millions of people killed. Now all this stuff about humanitarianism is like, oh my God, one person died, one person was shot. Well, that's what happens in war anyway. I mean, if you're going to go to war, go to war. Do whatever you got to do what you got to do. I'm not advocating for either side. I'm just saying that there is an art to war, and a lot of it is psychological. So what's happened? Yeah, the big guns. Russia is pulling out the big guns. They've been very, very polite up to this point, but Russia is fed up because Ukraine and NATO happened to mess up with a few warships of Russia in the Black Sea here. And that really pissed off Vladimir Putin. So he went, you know what, screw you. I'm just going to go bomb the whole of Ukraine. So that's what he's doing now. So that's going to create more refugees. Also, Biden just said, oh, it's going to be a little bit tricky, Mr. Zelensky, because, Congress is holding up all the money. I don't know how many more billions I can give you so you can get another yacht and a couple of mansions. Sorry, I don't know what to do. Excuse me. So yeah, all of these sparklers that are going off right now are going to turn into massive forest fires, okay? The Islamofascists, the Muslim terrorists, whatever you want to call them, are now going head-to-head, face-to-face with the Jews in the West, whatever you want to call those. And they've been doing this for thousands of years, but now it's happening real time. And that war is expanding. And so the warmongers, we've already talked about that months ago. The warmongers, that's the banks and the banksters, along with Raytheon, General Motors Defense, Boeing Defense, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, all the big military industrial complex people, and the Pentagon, who have billions and billions and billions of dollars. They're laughing their heads off because it's all about the money, honey. Follow the money. That's what it's about. War is the biggest business. And a lot of this is happening by design, but also a lot of it is, you could call it fate. It's an inevitability given the astrology, for example. Hello, Heather. So the other thing that's happening, of course, is the fragility of the US dollar. It's shaking like this because everywhere else in the world is going, you know what, we're kind of sick of the US dollar and their complete abuse of power. Let's do something about it. So that's what they're doing. Now, interestingly enough, the CCP is collapsing internally. They're having a massive deflationary depression spreading across China like a bomb. It's literally like a bomb going off. And as powerful as China thinks it is, and Mr. Ping thinks he is, he can't stop that. So the worse it gets inside China, the more belligerent he's going to get outside China. He's going to present himself as the biggest, most powerful person on earth, and ultimately the biggest, most powerful abuser and bully. Okay? Now, the other thing that I learned recently by watching a bunch of financial analysts and stuff, people that I really trust, is like when we talked about, remember, we talked about they, we talked about them. Who are they? What is, let me go over here, hold on. I made a video about that. Who are they, okay? Those are the anonymous bureaucrats, unelected elites, the global elites. We listed all of that. And during this amazing interview, I wish I'd kept the link to the interview, between the interviewer and the interviewee, the interviewer said, please can you explain how this all works? Because it's obviously, from what we see, it's like a globally organized orchestration of a total demolition of the human soul, the human spirit. But it seems to be coming from multiple angles. There's the Uniparty in America, there's the United Nations, the United States Federal Reserve, there's China, there's Russia, there's Iran, there's all the banksters, there's the military industrial complex, the corporate industrial complex, the medical industrial complex, all these consolidated pyramids of power that basically, it's like 1% of the world population, or probably 1/10 of 1% of the world population, that controls all of that. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, hundreds of trillions of dollars that we don't have any control of it. We, the people, don't. And they're taking it to the extreme. And again, going back to the interview, the interviewer said, how does this all happen? Are they all sitting on their cell phones? Is Obama sitting out there talking to Biden through Susan Rice? And then is Susan Rice talking to Jerome Powell? Is Jerome Powell, talking to Xi Jinping? Who's talking to Vladimir Putin? Who's talking to Zelensky? What are they doing? How do they organize all this stuff? Okay? Hello, Russian Thoughtbot. I'm going on a crazy berserk rant about geopolitical stuff, okay? Because it's very, very important right now. We're going through a point of critical mass. We're going through the tipping point. We're going through the moment of titration, specifically January 21st and 22nd. So that's my catch-up for you, Russian Thoughtbot. So anyway, the interviewee described it like this. He said, the reality is that they all know about each other. All these clusters of elites, they all know about each other, and they all have one specific goal: to attain absolute maximum power, money, and control as possible. Pluto, 29 degrees in Capricorn, okay? That's the correlation with the astrology. And the reality is, he said, is that there's no singular top of the pile. They operate as a swarm. Okay? One moment, Mr. Harari over at the World Economic Forum has this great speech, great idea about how to obliterate 7 billion people, and then everybody's watching him on the channel, and then Klaus Schwab comes up with another story, and then there's contradictions, and there's the whole invasion of America, and there's how are we going to organize the collapse? How are we going to deal with the collapse of the global financial system? Oh, we're going to go to Bitcoin. Oh, they're criminals. Oh, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'm sure you've seen a swarm. You've seen a swarm of bees. You've seen a swarm of swallows. You've seen a swarm of swifts, swarms of birds, whatever. Bats. Bats is another example. Swifts and swallows. I even wrote about it in my book. Okay, how the elites operate, and it felt really, really good to see somebody validate my opinion, because I hadn't seen that anywhere in 5 years. So I was very glad to see it. Hello, Necessary Truth, okay? Exactly, Thoughtbot. Hive mind. Bees. Now, the thing about bees, I'm not using that as a direct correlation, because the bees do have a pyramidal power structure. There's all the bees, and then there's one queen. The behavior that I'm talking about does not have a singular queen bee. It's just a swarm. And so the interviewee was explaining in a swarm, I guess it's like advanced artificial intelligence that they're using now to try and study what's called swarm behavior, because it's becoming very obvious that swarm behavior is happening across the world right now between the elites and all the other elites of the elites. Doesn't matter whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. They're elites, and all they care about is power, money, and control at any cost. And that any cost usually means a lot of blood, death, war. And so it's happening. And the interviewee said, at one moment in time, literally moment by moment, The swarm feeds on itself, and it operates like a supercomputer where you have a lot of servers all connected simultaneously with one singular agenda. And so when one part of the swarm has a moment of awakening and awareness that the best action to take would be to move from this direction to this direction in order to achieve the goal of the swarm, then that one particular bird will move in that direction. And that sends a signal to the neighboring birds. And the neighboring birds think like, oh, this bird seems to know what he's doing, where he's going, because I was just following the other ones, but this one knows where he's going. So all the swarm starts to follow that one. And that goes off for a time until through an evolutionary moments, seconds, minutes later, another bird, part of the elites, has another epiphany, moment of awakening, like, the best thing I can do right now for the swarm is to pivot in this direction. Okay, this is Vladimir Putin here. I gotta speak to Grandpa Joe. I've just noticed something happening on the war front in Ukraine. We need to talk for a few minutes to get this sorted out so we can re-pivot, redirect ourselves. Okay, so get back to me. Okay, thanks, Joe. Bye. That kind of stuff. Okay. So it operates like a swarm, not like a hive. It operates like a swarm. And personally, I'm just observing. I'm trying to do my best to observe the swarm, see what they're doing, where they're going, how they do it. Because it covers pretty much every aspect of human behavior and politics and economics. I'm not an expert at any of it. Hello, old son. I'm just doing one of my rant videos. Okay, I'm going to go back over here now. Go back to the stage. Where were we working? So a lot of people are scared, like, oh my God, the US dollar is collapsing. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. At the same time, the CCP and the yuan is collapsing. And yet, at the same time, the CCP knows this, and so they're trying to create this new BRICS thing, which is the collaboration between a lot of countries that are not the United States, so that they can basically recalibrate the global financial system. There's talk about going to gold, oil, gas, timber, wheat, basically hard assets, commodities that can be used as the measuring point, the value that goes behind the currency. So that's why a lot of these countries are buying up gold bullion by the ton. Did I mention that one? I did all that one. Yeah, I did all that one. Did all that one. Okay. So what I'm noticing here in the United States, there's a ton of things to get, excited about, and to where we need to pay attention. But we have to also kind of look at the very, very bedrock issue. In my opinion, the very bedrock issue is this aspect here, astrologically. Power, money, and control at the expense of we the people. I talked about this very early in this video today. We're at the tipping point right now. This is the moment of titration. And inside the United States, yes, there's all sorts of stuff going on. We've got censorship with the mainstream media. We've got censorship from government institutions that work around the American Constitution to get the mainstream media and the tech elites to do the dirty work of this evil agenda. And it's working. They're getting away with it, but it's difficult. So what's happening is, at these very critical degrees, there are alarm bells going off, and there are more and more people inside the United States who are waking up and realizing if we don't do something radical, the United States is going to be destroyed. It will literally be destroyed. There will be nothing like what we know. The economy will turn into some kind of bizarre jello thing. And the Constitution, this thing here, this will be destroyed forever. Okay? To me, that's very, very frightening. And for 100 million other American people, who are heavily armed, it's also very, very frightening. But we haven't reached the point of critical mass yet, because to reconstitute the Constitution essentially means war. Okay? There's no way out of it, because the elites have declared war on we the people, and they're doing it very subversively. So I don't know what's going to happen. The enemy is within. Let's put it that way. So the things that stick out the most, they're very, very boring, they're very, very tedious, and they're not very, dazzling like the wars. So the wars are very dazzling because there's lots of guns and shooting and death and crisis and all that scary stuff. But when you go into the political stuff, it's just people in suits and ties arguing with each other. So the latest scandal is Trump being pulled off the ballots by the Democrats, because the Democrats are absolutely desperate. The whole of America is realizing that the Grandpa Joe agenda is a complete, utter, catastrophic failure. And it's not just a failure, it's an actual strategy to destroy America. And it's starting to send alarm bells, and people are waking up. And the resistance is showing up in the courtrooms, basically going to the fundamentals of our Constitution. Okay? The First Amendment, Second Amendment, and the Fourth Amendment, and the 14th. They're all in contention right now. It is war. It's absolute war. The liberal left, which is basically the institutionalized uniparty that represents them, represents the pinnacle of the pinnacle of the pinnacle of power across the world, they are desperate because they can see that there's a possibility that they might lose. Even though they have effectively all the power, money, and control at their disposal, there's still a possibility they could lose it all and end up having to go back to this. This is their worst nightmare. This is, they are terrified of this because it means the end of their power and money and control. It's weird. Anyway, we're going to see that start to play out. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to mess up my throat. I'm getting a sore throat already just from this little bit of talking. I hope you enjoyed everything here that I shared with you. I hope you get something out of it. I hope you are staying alert and aware. Oh, I forgot to mention this one. As you know, the elites, let's put it this way. Okay. There's a very sinister, dark side to what we've been talking about. In other words, like that pyramid of power, the global elites, let's just call them the global elites. They stick together like a club. They operate as a swarm because they all have the same basic interests. And over the last few years, well, probably a decade or 15 years or so, all sorts of people have been coming out, acting as whistleblowers, pulling the veil aside and exposing the depth of perversion and corruption and evil at the very, very core of this swarm. One of those people who outed the swarm, who pulled the curtain back on the swarm, her name is Janet Osebard. And she did a 27-part series on BitChute, explaining everything in great detail about the structure of the swarm. And she's probably in her 40s or something, and suddenly, apparently she was suicided just the other day. They found out about her. They decided they don't like her. There's other things I don't dare talk about. Love Triber sends me all sorts of things that come through Telegram that are terrifying, that you can't really, I don't know. I mean, I'm already in so much trouble with YouTube. I'm just, I'm surviving by a thread. My channel is still here by, they're just granting me a channel right now because it doesn't really exist as a channel much anymore. But the swarm, don't like her. They don't like Janet. So they outed her. It's very similar to what's happening with the, what do they call it, the Epstein files. There's all sorts of people who are being outed and they're disappearing. The whole point of the Epstein file, I think it's a CIA operation personally, is to basically hold the members of the swarm into the swarm. Because some members who join the swarm don't realize to the full extent of what they've done. For example, let's look at Taylor Swift. She's effectively part of that swarm now. And there might come a moment where she thinks like, oh my God, what have I done? She might be in her 50s or something, or her 60s. And it's difficult to be a pop star when you're 50 or 60. It's harder, put it that way. And she might think, oh my God, I was so young and naive. I need to get out of the swarm. And the swarm goes, I'm sorry, Miss Swift, or Mrs. Swift. You can't do that. You signed an oath. Like, it's sort of like Scientology. Once you're in Scientology, try to get out. I know about this personally because I had close associates who got sucked in. You try to get out, your life is in jeopardy, let's put it that way. Also, Kevin Spacey just had some stuff just come out on Telegram. Very, very disturbing stuff. He also had something very amusing and funny and silly on Tucker Carlson. So I don't know what to make of it. I really, really don't. Hollywood, of course, is part of the swarm. We all know that. Anyway. So, enjoy the show. You know, it's going to be spectacular. Okay? Okay, I'm signing out now, people. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really, really enjoy doing this with you. It's like my... It's really special to me. I would have abandoned this whole channel long ago, except that I feel some kind of deep soul obligation to keep going. And I just hope you get something out of it. All right. Take care, everybody. Be loving, be loved. Wink, wink.